business schedule? Well, insurers are used to deal with challenges and risks. So, the challenge of this year is the Greek Dockers Union strike, which has forced us to alter our original return plans. But we have solved this problem, and we arranged a private vessel to take us back to Athens. As far as the weather is concerned, which is what everybody discusses, let me quote the song. Along with sunshine, there's got to be a little rain sometime. So, if it does rain, don't worry, you are prepared. You have an umbrella from us. I hope you will enjoy the social events. You have already enjoyed some. And the social events include this year also a concert by 2 acclaimed female musicians who will take us on a wonderful journey from east to west. This concert is going to take place in Nextdeal instead of the original place because Nextdeal has a roof. So in case of rain, we will not get wet. Many thanks to our sponsor who made this year's event possible. Thank you, Aaron Bentley, Carpenter Fairbank, Dallas, Eurolife, and Magic. Finally, on behalf of our conference staff and secretariat, who are at your disposal, I wish you a fruitful and enjoyable meeting. And now is the time to give the floor to the chairman of the association, Mr. Alexander Sarkozy, who is going to open our meeting.
Good morning, everyone. Dear friends, welcome. They say that time flies when you're having fun, and it seems like we've been having a lot of fun over the last 18 years. So it's been 18 years, which is amazing. We've all grown 18 years younger, but many of us are here since that first ISRA meeting, and it's certainly a pleasure to welcome you again to ISRA, which always remains very beautiful. The rest of the world, however, is still beautiful, but has got some problems. So in setting up the stage for today and tomorrow's very interesting panel on technology and on NATCAP, allow me to take a few minutes to discuss the broader issues that are surrounding us and that are influencing the world in which we live and where we do business. Never before, not only in recent memory, but I think for many decades, have we been facing simultaneously so many intractable, difficult problems and, in some ways, dangerous situations. Let me first start by saying that from a political and socio-economic standpoint, we have all kinds of things happening, both in Europe and around the world. I was looking at the speech I made 2 months ago, and that was the day when Brexit was being discussed, and I had prepared comments that maybe there would be Brexit. Well, all of a sudden there is Brexit. There is discussion about the future of the European Union. At the same time, we have elections again in Spain, then in France, then in Germany within the next 12 months. It seems likely or possible that the leadership of the European Union will change. the same time, we have the rise of extreme forces, political forces, most of them to the right, extreme right. We have the refugee crisis. We have terrorism, rampant terrorism all over the world. In New York last week, out of the blue in the middle of the city. So all of these, and not last but not least, we may have a change in the U.S. presidency that will create, if Mr. Trump gets elected, a major unknown in how the U.S. is going to behave in the international scene. So, politically and socioeconomically, we have a difficult and dangerous and unknown environment. A subset of this development, which we've been living through the last few years, is a rise in political pressure against, is the word I would use, against financial institutions, mostly banks, but also insurance companies. In some ways, we are portrayed as a bad guy. Insurance, I think, has fared better than banking, certainly, but still, the result of all this is a trend to over-regulation, over-supervision, heavy-handed attempts to protect the consumer, but in another way to look at this is that there are ways for the politicians to tell the voting public that they are protecting them from us, but also at the same time, some positive moves, such as Solvency II. Solvency II, which is a risk-based approach, as we know, I think is something reasonable in that it gives freedom to the players in the market to take risks, but at the same time requires capital. The question though becomes, how do you implement things such as Solvency II? Solvency II started out as I mentioned before, a well-reasoned attempt to a risk-based model, but at the end of last year, when it started getting implemented, it has become a rule book of 3,300 pages with 650 guidelines and 180 reporting templates. So it became a monster. And while we were all living preparation for Solvency II, now we live with Solvency II. And both the regulators, supervisors, and the industry, Europe-wide, is trying to calibrate themselves against all these avalanche of rules. And we have to keep in mind that while politicians tell the consumer that they are doing this to protect them, and the guidelines on IDD, on distribution of our products, and the PRIPS guidelines that are coming up are creating some ridiculous situations where we will have to present the consumer with, dozens and dozens, over 100 pages of information, which nobody will read. At the same time, it's interesting to note that St. Gallen University in Switzerland ran a survey of 1,000 people, and out of these 1,000 people, 50% said they're not willing to pay 1 cent more for their protection, and 24% said they would only pay up to 5% to be more protected and well informed. So on one hand, you have the regulators pushing all these conditions that are raising our costs and making us, in the cases of some products, less competitive versus the asset management industry, and on the other hand, the consumer is not willing to pay for it. A second big area of concern, which I think I was in Monte Carlo last week, and this was one of the items of discussion, and does not concern the insurance market, which is softer, thank God, but touches Since 1982, we have had a market of declining interest rates. We are now at an incredible point that nobody could imagine, where interest rates are negative levels, not only for countries such as Germany. What people don't realize is that as of 2 weeks ago, there were triple B credit corporate bonds rated triple B that were paying negative rates. This creates a difficult situation for us insurers, particularly for life insurance, but for everyone, and creates something that happened gradually and imperceptibly over the last many years, which is the following. Both insurers, pension funds, but also, for example, conservative investors, the average pensioner across Europe and in the US is now carrying a lot more risk because they're trying to make up for the low interest rates. So they're raising the risk profile. If something goes wrong with the markets, which there are many analysts that are urging caution, then we will have a big problem in our industry. Not only in our balance sheets and our income statements, but also in the perception of how well we were guarding the money that the public entrusted to us and we hold as reserve. The third major force is technology. And permit me to say that while in Greece there is a discussion about whether direct selling is acceptable, not acceptable, etc., etc., this is really yesterday's discussion. Technology is not about online selling, this is yesterday's news. Technology is about peer-to-peer insurance. What is peer-to-peer insurance? It is essentially an insurance industry that is springing up as we speak. 2 days ago, one of the pioneers in the field, a company in New York, launched. They were preparing to launch for a few months, and 2 days ago, literally, they went live. It means you have insurance companies that are very small up to now, that are springing up outside Solvency II, outside the US regulations, with no capital requirements, with no stability, with a lot of technology and with direct contact with the consumer, where we as the traditional insurers are presented as the old-fashioned arteriosclerotic guys who, are moving with the paradigm of the past, and there are these new guys who speak directly to the consumer. They cut the intermediary, they lower the commissions, or the commissions go to zero, costs go very low. So we have the Uber and the Airbnb of insurance happening as we speak right now. As an insurance industry, we need to urgently, and I know most, if not all, insurance groups around the world are really concerned about that, but the solution is not clear. Technology is also something else, which will concern, I think, today's panel, and that is driverless cars, wearables in health. These are changes that are causing changes in coverages, causing changes in what the consumer is looking for, and where there is an important difference. All our experience as traditional insurers, decades, 100-year-old experience, is almost useless. I'm exaggerating a bit, but when the paradigm changes so much, it is useless. I was talking to someone the other day, a major international player, and they were telling me that driverless cars, parentheses, In Singapore, I don't know if you realize that, I think about a month ago, they started driverless taxis. Okay? So driverless cars is not science fiction, it's here. So they were telling me that driverless cars would cause motor insurance premiums to go down by 70%, 70. How our industry is going to react to that is yet unknown, but certainly it will change the landscape. So many things are happening, and I'm not going to cover all of them today. I would like to close with 2 words. One about people. I think that one of the key things in our industry, as in every industry, but in particular in our industry, is attracting new talent, attracting the top new people from the university, from the business schools, from everything. And let's face it, insurance is not sexy. I don't think if you ask any kid that they're growing up what they want to be, they're going to tell you they want to be an insurer. Yet insurance is very sexy. It's extremely interesting. As we all know, as we live every day, it's got technology, it's got finance, it's got risk-taking. All of these things are very exciting. We need to get out there as ambassadors of our profession and attract the top new people to our business. And one word about Greece. The Greek market has continued to shrink. Unfortunately, we saw 6-month results, which are 5% lower year over year. Yes, there is a crisis. Yes, people have no money. But I want to say this. The social state that was crowding out private insurance in the past is no more, particularly in pensions and in health. And it is time that the government, this government in particular, as they are in power now, recognize that private insurance is a trustworthy partner to find a solution for the average Greek in pensions, in health, in natural catastrophe, much like most other states which we want to emulate have done. And they have done many years ago. It is time that ideology comes to terms with reality. And this reality is difficult. Greece deserves to have a second and third pillar pension system. Greece deserves to have mandatory cover for earthquake for every Greek at a very low cost. In closing, I want to again welcome Nikita. I want to mention our sponsors once more and thank them very much for the support for this conference. Aon Bentley, Carpenter Turner, Dara, SEC, Euroline ERB, Matrix Brokers, and Carglass. But last but not least, I'd like to thank very much the staff of the association, Margarita Andronaki, Eric, Sandra, and all the people who have been working very hard for months to prepare the conference and protect us both against the rain and against fire and everything else. So thank you very much. Enjoy the conference and have fun. Thanks.
Thank you very much, German, for the very interesting analysis of the current situation in the insurance sector, the problems, the challenges, the opportunities. Now we come to our second part, but before doing that, please don't forget to take with you the beautiful gift which is sponsored by the Insurance Company and the conference bag which is sponsored by Carglass. We come to the second presentation, which is relevant to solvency. After many years of preparatory work, Solvency II is now in place. Solvency II, as we all know, is a very demanding regime for the operation and supervision of the insurance of the state. However, the Greek market reacted to the challenge. Which is the market resilient? Which is the degree of compliance? Which are the drivers that influence insurance companies' strategic activity? Which lines of business are affected? Which are the expectations for future consolidation? Will the policy holders be affected? Will they be better protected? What do we expect from the role of the supervisory authority? These are questions that are addressed by the barometer study we are going to see now. This study is financed by DARAG. It is conducted by the University of Pavia, and Professor Javelas is going to make the presentation. Mr. Javelas, please. Good morning. Let me introduce myself. My name is Professor Javelas from the University of Pavia, Department of Statistics and Insurance Science. Today, I will discuss the findings from the barometer study concerning the Solvency II and the Greek insurance market. What we try to do here? Yeah. The aim of this study is to see the effects of the implementation of the Greek insurance market. We asked several high-rank representatives their opinion. How do they see the future of this insurance market after the new reality? Few words for this study. It is an online study. In other words, it is a computer-assisted web English. No reviewers, no photos. The volunteers kindly ask to enter the web page and follow the directions to answer specific questions. In this way, we gain and it is faster, it's cheaper, and no much mistakes, no interference, no training, no substitute. Now, the population is 45 chief executive officers or chief financial officers. 29 of them are made to participate, and the rate is 64.5%. It's pretty good. It's quite representative. The coincidence was about 10 minutes long. The whole process was controlled by the focus body department. The video was 2 months video during the summer, but if we move it with summary until the summer, the holidays, it's about 5 weeks. Now, a few words that describe the sample. 59%, about 17 of them, are registered. Define the company as a multinational company.
And how did they avail themselves? 62% as student safety officer, 42% as financial officers, and the rest 24 as general managers. So, the first question was about the market review. Just to all of the insurance market appears to be, compared to the banking sector, more growth. The question was, do you expect this to continue? Despite to the new situation, the strategy to reduce. That was the answer. That was kind of interesting result. Because 72% claim that yes, the market will be resilient, will continue to be resilient. And 24% say no, the resilience will weaken. Despite all this high demand from security, speed, environment, network, the majority of people believe that the rate market will address the challenge and will maintain its resilience. That's an interesting task to see it and to think why do they have this opinion. And also it could be because of that the public sector rents apartments, more and more people seek for insurance to the private sector. So there is enough customers. Probably that's one question for this. Now, if you see this answer in terms of the origin, multinational or the origin company, you see that the multinationals are a little bit optimistic. So that different budgets, let's say different 6% difference, more optimistic. Probably because they are more experienced in some of the sector. Probably they are affected less by this situation. That's something that we can discuss. The next one is we wanted to see how much they get to apply with Solvency II, the NBA. So we asked the representatives to rate the company, to check from 1 to 10. 10, fully compliant, and 1, basically 9. And that's the finding. As you can see, 58% they rate the company from 1 to 6. About more than 50%, 7 to 8, and only 7%, 9 to 10. So, as you can see here, we have negative must be done, but 58% with a rate of 1 to 6 is quite low. But nevertheless, if we add this 55 and 7, to see a rate of 7 about, you see it's 62%. If you compare it with the European average, which is 7%, it means that very effort must be made to reach the European average. The result is not quite satisfactory, even we are not that far away from the European average. Now, with this, the next next question was about the challenges that the insurance markets face when they operate in such an environment. What do they consider as a challenge? These are all the possible answers, and we'll ask them to pick the most important ones. As we can see here, the challenges has to do with the economic situation globally and nationally, and also the security budget. As you can see, the first choice, 72 of the political delegates, that chose them as first priority, as the first challenge. Number one, the low yield, low investment. The second one is the current situation in Greece, after the progress of Greece. Low premiums. The three most important challenges have to do with not only the rate, globally, but the the next one, 47%, has to do with the need for more capital. So the security demands more capital, and that's a challenge. As the previous speaker said, solvency is in motion. So that's why they feel that they have to operate within a not complex. But solvency creates an operational complex. Need for market consolidation, this is what we later, and lack of experience. That's the challenge they face when they do. So you want just to summarize this, that's a combination of negative trends, effective benefits, globally and the economy, capital conversion, etc., and solvency to operational complexity. Now, let's see how what take under consideration for the strategic activities. What drivers influence the strategic management? So, for this governance, so these are the possible answers, and predict to what they consider as the most important. As you can see there, the first priority is to stay in business, to keep their position in the market. This is the first priority for more than 50% of the business. The minimization of the cost and the way to manage the capital. As we know, Solvency II has a very strict limitations on how to treat capital. They must keep the capital just for any risk. The next one is, as we say, the complexity. How to reduce the complexity, and also how to manage the capital in a better way. And this whole part has to manage health and activities. So this is what we have said. The regulatory is what just described. The new regulatory framework has significant need for insurance companies to optimize the balance sheet, support structure and to focus on proactivity. This is what we see here. And what do you think the job will affect it the most by cybersecurity? What do you expect? And there is some between the first and the second choice. The right choice will be affected the most. It's not clear. The better of the worse. So that's a kind of discussion. Probably because of the flexibility of the market. Let's say, what the company. How fast and how well can they adapt it to the environment. This is what the light is already here. So what are the expectations? Computer consolidation is being good. That's a very new situation, and that's a remarkable result, actually. Almost all of them, they believe that the consolidation is effective. The rest, just 3%, they say that there is no such consolidation. Very interesting that. The point is the following. The biggest question in the insurance sciences, we saw this consolidation, but only I think 7% have in mind possible consolidation. That's two types of contradiction to it. But on one hand, we expect consolidation, and on the other hand, somehow we put it aside to do nothing about that. But that's a interesting analysis, the way we think. Probably something that we must discuss. We asked them to say, to express their opinion if the policy protection enhanced. This is something that always everybody expects. Government should be very strict on the regulations, and they protect it, and it protects the policy holder. About 80% they say yes, consumer protection is enhanced. The rest 21%, it says they don't deny it. It says it's too little to tell. Probably because they have in mind, let's wait to see how the situation will be implemented. And then we say, they don't deny it, but they don't forbid it. Okay, that's what I said. Now, as you said, the whole solvency regime, very complicated.